Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
Make a prediction about. Tell in advance. Indicate, as with a sign or an omen. Regard something as probable or likely. Make a prediction about. Tell in advance. Be excited or anxious about. Act in advance of. Deal with ahead of time. Realize beforehand. Be a forerunner of or occur earlier than. This composition anticipates Impressionism. Assign a specified, usually proper name to. Make a prediction about. Tell in advance. Order, request, or command to come. She was called into the director's office. Utter a sudden loud cry. Pay a brief visit. The mayor likes to call on some of the prominent citizens. The option to buy a given stock, or stock index or commodity future, at a given price before a given date. A demand by a broker that a customer deposit enough to bring his margin up to the minimum requirement. A demand especially in the phrase. The call of duty. A telephone connection. She reported several anonymous calls. A loud utterance, often in protest or opposition. Greet, as with a prescribed form, title, or name. She calls him by first name. Demand payment of a loan. Give the calls to the dancers for a square dance. Get or try to get into communication with someone by telephone. I tried to call you all night. The characteristic sound produced by a bird. Make a demand, as for a card or a suit or a show of hands. He called his trump. A brief social visit. Senior professors' wives no longer make afternoon calls on newcomers. A demand for a show of hands in a card game. After 2 raises there was a call. An instruction that interrupts the program being executed. Pascal performs calls by simply giving the name of the routine to be executed. A request. Many calls for Christmas stories. Ascribe a quality to or give a name of a common noun that reflects a quality. He called me a bastard. A special disposition, as if from a divine source, to pursue a particular course. A visit in an official or professional capacity. The pastor's calls on his parishioners. Call a meeting. Invite or command to meet. The Wannsee Conference was called to discuss the final solution. Challenge somebody to make good on a statement. Charge with or censure for an offense. He deserves to be called on that. Challenge the sincerity or truthfulness of. Call the speaker on a question of fact. Consider or regard as being. I would not call her beautiful. Declare in the capacity of an umpire or referee. Call a runner out. Indicate a decision in regard to. Call balls and strikes behind the plate. Lure by imitating the characteristic call of an animal. Make a stop in a harbor. The ship will call in Honolulu tomorrow. Order or request or give a command for. The unions called a general strike for Sunday. order, summon, or request for a specific duty or activity, work, role. He was already called 4 times for jury duty. Read aloud to check for omissions or absentees. Require the presentation of for redemption before maturation. Rouse somebody from sleep with a call. I was called at 5 a.m. this morning. Send a message or attempt to reach someone by radio, phone, etc. Make a signal in order to transmit a message. Hawaii is calling. Sports, the decision made by an umpire or referee. He was ejected for protesting the call. Stop or postpone because of adverse conditions, such as bad weather. Call a football game. Utter a characteristic note or cry. Blue Jays called to one another. Utter in a loud voice or announce. He called my name. Make a prediction about. Tell in advance. Make a prediction about. Tell in advance. Indicate, as with a sign or an omen. Foreshadow or presage. Make a prediction about. Tell in advance. Indicate, as with a sign or an omen. Make a prediction about. Tell in advance. Grounds for feeling hopeful about the future. There is little or no promise that he will recover. Make a promise or commitment. A verbal commitment by one person to another agreeing to do, or not to do, something in the future. Give grounds for expectations. The results promised fame and glory. Promise to undertake or give. I promise you my best effort. Indicate, as with a sign or an omen. Ancient Rome, a religious official who interpreted omens to guide public policy. Predict from an omen. Indicate, as with a sign or an omen. Commence in a manner calculated to bring good luck. They auspicated the trip with a bottle of champagne. Be a signal for or a symptom of. Indicate, as with a sign or an omen. Indicate, as with a sign or an omen. These signs bode bad news. Predict in advance. Judge to be probable. A prediction about how something, as the weather, will develop. Indicate, as with a sign or an omen. Indicate, as with a sign or an omen. A sign of something about to happen. He looked for an omen before going into battle. Indicate, as with a sign or an omen. Indicate, as with a sign or an omen. Indicate, as with a sign or an omen. Imagine or consider beforehand. It wasn't as bad as I had prefigured. A sign of something about to happen. Indicate, as with a sign or an omen. A foreboding about what is about to happen. An investment that is very risky but could yield great profits. Proceed somewhere despite the risk of possible dangers. We ventured into the world of high-tech and bought a supercomputer. Put at risk. Put forward, of a guess, in spite of possible refutation. A commercial undertaking that risks a loss but promises a profit. Any venturesome undertaking, especially one with an uncertain outcome. Behave unnaturally or affectedly. The enactment of a pretense. It was just pretend. Represent fictitiously, as in a play, or pretend to be or act like. State insincerely. She pretended not to have known the suicide bomber. Imagined as in a play. Dangling their legs in the water to catch pretend fish. Make believe with the intent to deceive. Put forward, of a guess, in spite of possible refutation. I cannot pretend to say that you are wrong. Put forward a claim and assert right or possession of. Pretend the title of king. Take a risk in the hope of a favorable outcome. A source of danger, a possibility of incurring loss or misfortune. Drinking alcohol is a health hazard. Put at risk. An unknown and unpredictable phenomenon that causes an event to result one way rather than another. Put forward, of a guess, in spite of possible refutation. An obstacle on a golf course. An estimate based on little or no information. Guess correctly. Solve by guessing. He guessed the right number of beans in the jar and won the prize. Judge tentatively or form an estimate of quantities or time. Expect, believe, or suppose. I guess she is angry at me for standing her up. A message expressing an opinion based on incomplete evidence. Put forward, of a guess, in spite of possible refutation. I am guessing that the price of real estate will rise again. Be a signal for or a symptom of. Express the need or desire for. Be a signal for or a symptom of. The economic indicators signal that the euro is undervalued. Any nonverbal action or gesture that encodes a message. Signals from the boat suddenly stopped. Communicate silently and non-verbally by signals or signs. The diner signaled the waiters to bring the menu. An electric quantity, voltage or current or field strength, whose modulation represents coded information about the source from which it comes. Any incitement to action. He awaited the signal to start. Notably out of the ordinary. The year saw one signal triumph for the Labour Party. Be a signal for or a symptom of. These symptoms indicate a serious illness. Indicate a place, direction, person, or thing, either spatially or figuratively. He indicated his opponents. Give evidence of. The results indicate the need for more work. Suggest the necessity of an intervention, in medicine. Tetracycline is indicated in such cases. To state or express briefly. Indicated his wishes in a letter. Be oriented. The weather vane points north. Sail close to the wind. Repair the joints of bricks. Point a chimney. Any of 32 horizontal directions indicated on the card of a compass. He checked the point on his compass. Be a signal for or a symptom of. Her behavior points to a severe neurosis. A specific identifiable position in a continuum or series or especially in a process. A distinct part that can be specified separately in a group of things that could be enumerated on a list. The main point on the agenda was taken up first. An outstanding characteristic. His acting was one of the high points of the movie. A V shape. The cannibal's teeth were filed to sharp points. A contact in the distributor. As the rotor turns, its projecting arm contacts them and current flows to the spark plugs. The dot at the left of a decimal fraction. Direct into a position for use. Point a gun. Indicate a place, direction, person, or thing, either spatially or figuratively. He pointed to the empty parking space. The property of a shape that tapers to a sharp tip. The gun muzzle's direction. He held me up at the point of a gun. A V-shaped mark at one end of an arrow pointer. The point of the arrow was due north. An isolated fact that is considered separately from the whole. A point of information. A wall socket. An instant of time. At that point I had to leave. A very small circular shape. A row of points. Direct the course. Determine the direction of traveling. Give a point to. Intend something, to move towards a certain goal. A punctuation mark, placed at the end of a declarative sentence to indicate a full stop or after abbreviations. A brief version of the essential meaning of something. Get to the point. A distinguishing or individuating characteristic. He knows my bad points as well as my good points. A geometric element that has position but no extension. A point is defined by its coordinates. A linear unit used to measure the size of type, approximately 1/72 inch. A promontory extending out into a large body of water. They sailed south around the point. A style in speech or writing that arrests attention and has a penetrating or convincing quality or effect. Be positionable in a specified manner. The gun points with ease. Indicate the presence of game by standing and pointing with the muzzle. The dog pointed the dead duck. Mark, a psalm text, to indicate the points at which the music changes. Mark, Hebrew words, with diacritics. Mark with diacritics. Point the letter. 1% of the total principal of a loan. It is paid at the time the loan is made and is independent of the interest on the loan. Sharp end. He stuck the point of the knife into a tree. The object of an activity. What is the point of discussing it? The precise location of something, a spatially limited location. She walked to a point where she could survey the whole street. The unit of counting in scoring a game or contest. He scored 20 points in the first half. The money risked on a gamble. Maintain with or as if with a bet. Stake on the outcome of an issue. The act of gambling. The money risked on a gamble. Have faith or confidence in. You can bet on that. Maintain with or as if with a bet. I bet she will be there. Stake on the outcome of an issue. I bet $100 on that new horse. The act of gambling. He did it on a bet. Predict in advance. Have faith or confidence in. Specifically design a product, event, or activity for a certain public. Judge to be probable. Keep an account of. Make a mathematical calculation or computation. Attempt to anticipate or predict. Deliver a sermon. Predict or reveal through, or as if through, divine inspiration. Have or contain a certain wording or form. The passage reads as follows. Make sense of a language. Can you read Greek? Obtain data from magnetic tapes or other digital sources. This dictionary can be read by the computer. Indicate a certain reading of gauges and instruments. The gauge read empty. Interpret something in a certain way. Convey a particular meaning or impression. I read this address as a satire. Be a student of a certain subject. She is reading for the bar exam. Audition for a stage role by reading parts of a role. Interpret something that is written or printed. Read the advertisement. Interpret the significance of, as of palms, tea leaves, intestines, the sky, also of human behavior. She read the sky and predicted rain. Look at, interpret, and say out loud something that is written or printed. The king will read the proclamation at noon. Something that is read. The article was a very good read. To hear and understand. I read you loud and clear.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.